And so could you tell us about who you are?
Sure. My name is Umberto Saetti, and I'm an assistant professor at Auburn University. Prior to Auburn, I had appointments fellow at the Georgia Institute of Technology and as a visiting scholar at the U.S. Army Aviation Development Directorate at NASA Ames in California.
Why did you want to become an aerospace engineer?
Well, I grew up in Italy, and my father would often take me to watch Formula One cars going around the track. So because of that, ever since I can remember, I wanted to be an aerospace engineer specializing in aerodynamics with the end goal of working for Ferrari one day. I have also always played with Lego Technics, and I had making a Lego airplane that would take off, fly, and land autonomously. So this dream started with the fact that my parents gifted me the majestic 1994 Lego Space Shuttle, which probably is still amazing. Since then, unfortunately, I was never able to make it fly because Legos, of course, aren't really made for flying. So I decided that it probably would be best to go to university and study real airplanes rather than Lego ones.
Mhm. So can you give us an insight to some of your work in aerodynamics?
Yes. So my approach to aerodynamics involves understanding how aerodynamics of a vehicle change with time. So and how these aerodynamics affect itself, the behavior of the vehicle, behavior of other vehicles that may be nearby. So as such, my approach to aerodynamics is more focused on the dynamics part of aerodynamics rather than the aero part of aerodynamics. And to put my work into context, I study how the aerodynamics of rotary wing and flapping helicopters or insects affect the overall dynamic stability of these vehicles.
Mhm. So can you explain some of your work in rotorcraft?
Yes, so my current work with rotorcraft focuses on explaining and controlling the periodic behavior of rotorcraft, such as vibrations or the noise that is generated aerodynamically by the rotor. That is the loud noise that you would hear when a helicopter is flying over you. And as such, my work involves coming up with autopilots that help pilot reduce helicopter vibrations for their comfort of the passengers and the noise that they produce and may be annoying to the people on the ground, especially in urban areas. I am also starting to work towards the developments of autopilots that may ease the job of a pilot and increase the safety for operations where a pilot is attempting the landing on a moving ship at sea. So this is particularly dangerous because the ship moves because of the waves, and it's also dangerous because the ship deck, the sea surface, and the ship's superstructures reflect the in a way that it can get rain adjusted by the rotor, and this affects basically the performance, but also the stability properties of the rotorcraft.
Mhm. And what are some of the biologically inspired flying vehicle concepts that you're currently working on?
So working on explaining the mechanism behind the dynamic stability of these vehicles. Typically, hovering vehicles such as helicopters or drones are unstable to hover. However, and that is whenever they're stationary with respect to the ground. However, insects were observed to be stable in this condition, and the mechanism is very complex and still not fully understood. And once I better understand this mechanism, then my aim would be to build flight control laws or autopilots to control the motion of these biologically inspired vehicles. So you as robots with flapping wings.
Mm-hmm. So you do a lot of work with simulations and stuff. So I want to ask, what is the difference between a regular simulation and an extended reality simulation?
So extended reality or XR involve the use of virtual reality or VR, which encompasses all immersive experiences augmented reality or AR, which is an overlay of computer-generated content onto the real world, and also wearables, which are wearable devices that can provide information to the pilot in the real world. And so this is different from traditional simulations, where which would either use projected or computer screens, and typically the pilot in this simulation has no access to information from the, if not through the projected or computer screens, which the pilot is looking at.
Can you give us an insight as to what your extended simulation lab is like and what you plan to accomplish utilizing it?
Sure. So my extended is currently under construction and will include multiple VR, AR motion-based simulators for being able to simulate multiple aircraft or pilots at the same time. And one example could be air combat or formation flying, where two aircraft are flying in the same simulation, again in the same simulation. Another example would be shipboard landing, where a pilot and its crew chief are flying on the same rotorcraft, but in different compartments of the rotorcraft, and they are communicating to the procedures to attempt a landing on a ship deck. Additionally, my lab will be equipped with two full-body haptic feedback suits, of which the name is Tesla suits. So it's localized electromuscular stimulation on the body of a person, and can be used to give information to any pilot in innovative ways. And an example for this would be air combat, where a fighter jet is trying to intercept another fighter jet, and the relative motion of the aircraft of the pilot that is trying to chase this aircraft through haptic feedback rather than with visual cues, which could possibly overload the pilot with information. On the other hand, haptic feedback comes from a different sensory channel, and therefore overload the pilot with information and can keep the pilot focused on its instrument with this sight.
So what has been your toughest accomplishment so far?
So I have to say that each step of one's career, including mine, is a major accomplishment and possibly equally tough. High school graduation from your bachelor's degree, graduation from your PhD, finding a faculty jobs. These are all immense challenges that are tough to overcome at the time that you're undertaking them. So for me, it's important to celebrate any of these accomplishments properly when they do happen and be proud of them, to then be able to move on to the next challenge and tackle the new challenge with enthusiasm.
What is a big milestone that you're looking forward to in your research?
So looking at the short term, getting my lab up and running will be a major milestone. My lab will be a medium to translate what I do currently in computer simulations and with math. And I will be able to translate it into tangible benefits for the end user, which are pilots. It would be nice to have this medium set up such that I can translate my mathematical and simulation work to the real world.
And lastly, to high schoolers like me and to younger generations that want to become aerospace engineers, what would your advice be to be successful in this career?
Well, to make sure to choose this career path, I would advise to make sure that you choose this career path out of passion rather than for other reasons. Passions for your studies and job is single-handedly one of the things that will make you feel that like you will have not worked one day, and even if you are, of course, are working, and will keep you enthusiastic about what you do throughout it. So another thing that I would suggest is to share your passion with other people that share that particular passion, because great ideas come through interaction. And I would also advise to cultivate other hobbies and interests, just because there inevitably there will be some down moments in one's career at some point, and being able to rely on other hobbies and interests is always a good thing. Also to see things from perspective.
Mhm. All right. Well, thank you for joining me, and thank you for letting me interview you. And that was great.
Thank you for having me, and great job.
Have a great rest of your day.